Welcome back to the garage here at Basin Motorsports. I'm Canaan, and today we're going to start a new project with carbon fiber. So what I have here in front of me are two speaker grills, and these are an old set. They're from Scotia, and these were from a set off of a Mustang I used to have. So these are 6-inch rounds. I have two of them, and I'm going to wrap them in blue carbon fiber from Venom Carbon. Now, as you look at the speakers, they're going to have a slight dimple grain to them from the manufacturer. But with that, we're going to use some 80 grit sandpaper. We're also going to scuff it, and then we're going to hatch the edges, both front and back surfaces, to make sure that we can get this carbon to stick down very well. All right, so here's a look at what we're going to wrap these in. Now, this is going to be the blue hybrid carbon fiber from Venom Carbon. So you can see everything's scuffed. This is our blue material. And then I have just a little bit left in these bottles. So I have extra of the epoxy resin and the hardener. So now at this point, I need to get these cleaned up, get some hardener and resin mixed at a 2-to-1 ratio of resin to hardener. And then I can start to dab it on there, let it set up. And then we're going to cut some cloth, start laying it down. All right, we don't need a lot for this. We're just going to do up to 1 ounce of resin. There you go. The Venom Carbon resin has a light blue tinge. I'm going to mix that with a 1/2 ounce of hardener because it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So, right about there. That'll work. Now, once you stir it up, what you're going to see is it's going to get cloudy. And then once you know it's completely mixed, it will start to become more clear again. All right, now we're going to take our 1-inch chip brush with our mixed resin and hardener and apply it onto our speaker grill. All right, so they're going to be our speaker grills now covered in the resin and hardener mixture. Now these are just going to drip dry. I made a couple blocks here and just covered them in some plastic. That way the resin doesn't stick, but they're elevated, easy to dry or drip dry as needed. Now these are going to sit for about 1 hour to 1.5 hours, somewhere in there. I'm going to come back and check them in 1 hour and see how they are. I need them to wet out. I need them to be tacky, but not fully cured, so that I can go ahead and bond the carbon fiber to it. Now you can see I've already got it laid out. This is 2 pieces of that blue roll here. So these are laid out. All I have to do is to essentially take these. I'm going to flip them over, put them on, stick them down, and then I'll start forming all of the corners and all the pieces in. All right, y'all, so I went through and put on all the resin, and now I've laid down the blue carbon fiber. So again, I think I'm really just not going to do very well on this one again. So timing is everything on composites, especially when you're getting resin to tack up, and I missed it on both of these, honestly. So this far one up here, you can see how many clothespins. It almost looks like it's a fair ride at this point. So many things out there. I came in at about 1.5 hours or so, something like that. Resin was still wet. But my schedule today, I just had a lot of things to do. So I tried to force it, and I think it's just going to come out just absolutely terrible. So I got it in here, got all the carbon fiber laid down, tried to cut it open to see if I could get it to stick. If I turn this over, it's going to be ugly as sin. It's not going to be good at all. So I'll get what I can out of that one, but by golly, I think I missed my boat on that one. So here's try number 2. Now this one I came in, I left it. I went out and did all my farm chores, came back in a couple different times. And honestly, a lot of it stuck. But I've got this section over here that is actually not stuck. It's too cured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this overnight to cure and get it to stick wherever it will stick. And then everything that's not stuck, I'm going to go for round 2. So I'm not going to make the mistake I did on the Porsche where I just said, oh, I can get it later on. I'm going to go ahead and try and go for a round 2 to get this to stick right. And then we'll see from there. So we'll let these cure overnight, and I'll come back and we'll we'll see what turns up. We'll see what we can do next. All right, let's take a look at how we did here. After keeping everything together, this is the one with all the clothespins all the way around. Pretty good shape. I did have one failure here that didn't bond very well, so I'll go ahead and mix up some resin, see if I can get this to stick down. Now, one thing I did notice is that on some of these edges, like down in here, really did not do a good job of getting it to stick down. And really, most of it is in these edges here that's bridged. You look it's kind of hard to see down in there, but I really did not do a good job of getting this to lay down on it. So I'm going to go ahead, mix up some resin, and I'm just going to drip it in here. And then I'll go ahead and get this clamped back down with some clothespins. See if I can get this edge to fold over a little bit. And then we'll see, just trying to get this to bond a little bit better. So now on the other one, I did a better job of getting, obviously, it tucked down in these creases as it comes off the edge. Still had a little bit of failure on the edge. Otherwise, you can see one, see two areas there. I'm going to do the same thing. Just mix up some resin. I'll go ahead and drip it in there rather than paintbrush it on, because you really can't do much with it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clamp this together with some clothespins, and then we'll leave it for another day. Let that bond together. And then we'll go ahead and get started on putting resin on the top and getting this all sealed up. All right, so here's what we're going to end up with for the second round of just getting the carbon attached to the speaker grills. So you can see this far one over here is the one that was a little bit better. And all I've just done is tack down to the edges, the two edges I showed you. Everything else looks pretty good. Now this one is the crazy one. You can see I've got some plastic in there trying to prevent the resin from bonding to the clothespins, because I know it will soak into the wood. Otherwise, it's going to hold down. So I've got, see what, 4 spots really that I'm worried about. And that's just getting them to bond. If I just slightly pick this up, ooh, you can just see that it's just holding it all the way down to the material there. Now, once that is all bonded on, I'll leave it on for a good day or so. Once that's bonded, we will take the clothespins off, and then we can start to flip it over and go ahead and get the top layer, the protective resin, put on. All right, it looks like we made the right choice here. So now you can look at everything with setting it and giving it another round of resin. So everything is stuck now around the periphery. That looks in pretty good shape. And I've gone through and cut back some of this resin here, or some of the cloth, I should say, to get a little bit more of an edge exposed. Now I'm going to go ahead on both of these parts, cover the top surface with resin. I'm also going to cover the bottom surface with resin too. Now it's going to give me a chance to kind of get these, I guess you'd say, encapsulated in resin. It'll give me a working surface to go from. So that was the one. You can see the other one. Now this one here did have some resin bleed through, so you can kind of see there that it's got some resin on top. So I'm going to lightly scuff this with some 80 grit just to make sure I don't get into the carbon itself. And again, it turned out pretty good on the back. Did some light cutting around the edges, and then we'll just go ahead and get this encapsulated in resin. That'll give me a good surface I can start sanding on. There's a little of the sticky. And a little of the icky. Now we just mix it up. Notice it's going to get cloudy. It's going to get bubbly. That way you know everything is well mixed. And then once it's mixed, turn back to a little bit of a light blue or a clear. It's ready to go. All right, so there we have both of the speaker grills now covered, so you can see they're nice, glossy. You can start to see that rich blue come out. And in this light, you almost get a hint of purple, which is pretty cool. Now each of these need to just sit, and each will take about, I think it was about 1.25 ounces of resin and hardener combination. So we're just going to let these sit for probably about 3 hours or so. Let them get tacky but not fully cured, and then I'll come in and put in another round of resin today, and then we'll leave them overnight because it'll probably be towards the middle of the afternoon. I don't know if I'll get a third one on today, but we'll see. Okay, we're done with layer 4 of the resin. Now after layer 3, one thing on the piece on the right, some of this wrinkling, I guess, from the early on, I decided to sand it down. I really didn't want to keep adding layers to it, and I really wanted to build out the centers away from the peaks. So I sanded the peaks off. You can see there's a little bit of wrinkling still left in there that I can go ahead and continue to sand, but everything else is doing pretty well. Now, most of this is going to get cut off because it's really mostly a surface that I'm interested in. Got some drips around the edge, but otherwise through layer 4, I feel like we're on the right path. Now on this side over here, again, I didn't really cut it open because I wanted to see if it was going to do any better. I feel like this one's going to turn out a little bit better overall, but it's hard to say. Again, it's through layer 4, and I'm using different resin just to show you something different in a separate video on UV stabilization of one versus the other. No UV protection, has UV protection, and I'll show you that later of why it matters. But otherwise, they're comparable resins. And through layer 4, I'm going to let these dry overnight. We'll come back in, may do some light sanding just to see how it is, and maybe throw on a 5th layer because I have it available. All right, now that we have all the resin cured on both the speaker grills, it's time to start removing material. Now you notice on the one that I had previously cut open and tried to form a little bit, you've got some pieces here around the edge that I'm going to have to cut out, and then I've just got some extra to remove. Not a big deal. We're going to use our Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel and a grinder. We're going to get most of that off, and then I'm going to hand sand. Just you can see my kind of pile of 80 grit over there. We're going to use that to get rid of basically everything else, and then we'll start to make sure that the front is down. So you still have a little bit here to work on, but definitely doable by hand. Now the other piece you're going to see is that it needs to be completely cut out. So you can have the sides, the center, around the edge. All of that will be removed from the extra material. And then we can just start sanding and making the front presentation a lot better. So again, we're just going to go ahead and sand that, get everything down and out. And then we're going to go ahead and polish it up and get on some clear coat. All right, so here's going to be a good look of making a mess, but we're cutting everything out. So you can see I've got a little bit left here to get a correct shape there on each one. The screw holes are now opened up. I've opened up each piece, and then we'll start. So you can see the backside dusty, still a mess, and need to get the edges done. But these are all opened up. We'll get these sanded down. We'll get these smoothed out, kind of these jagged edges. We'll get those smoothed out by hand. And then we'll start fine-tuning the last bits to make sure that it is nice and smooth sanded all the way through 1500 grit. All right, so here's going to be a look at the speaker grills. Now these have been cut out with my Dremel. They were sanded with a sanding bit on the Dremel and also my little kind of router bit that cuts out, that helped go through the speakers. Now the speaker mounting positions, I used 2 different types of drill bits basically to cut those open. Now these are pre-sized, I guess you would say, before I did all this, so I knew exactly what size to open them up to. But you can see that these are now wet sanded. Everything's done. They were done with 80 grit to start, then 220 dry. Then I moved to wet sanding by 400, and then jumped to 800, and then 1500. So these are pretty good. I just rinsed them off in the sink, and now I'm going to let them dry because it's about lunchtime. I will come back in then, make sure I wipe them down with alcohol and give them at least 1 coat of clear coat, gloss clear coat. And we're going to let this dry about maybe a day or so because it's kind of cool in the garage. It's getting towards winter. Now, once we have it done there, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the finished product and show you all the little things that I made mistakes on. All right, so here's going to be our finished product of the speaker grills. Now, remember, these were a black Scotch that I had left over, and the blue is a blue carbon fiber or a hybrid carbon fiber from Venom Carbon. So now if you look at them straight on, I'll say they look pretty decent. It looks like the shape is pretty good. But one thing you're going to start noticing is if I turn on edge, I still need to do better at practicing. So if I show you down in the corners, you can kind of see down in here and along this bottom edge here, you can see that there is some, I guess you'd say, gapping where I just didn't get it tucked down in there far enough. That's a poor mistake on my part and something I'm going to have to work on for later. But if you already have it on the other side and you put it on a speaker, I think it'd look pretty good. Now again, this is 2 coats of clear after done. You can also see there's a little distortion in the cloth here. So again, it's just probably laying, I think at this point after doing 2 or 3 different things, laying the cloth is probably almost the make or break point. If you do a great job laying it down, get everything tucked in, like that one is really, really bad. You get it tucked in, it's going to look fabulous when you're done. If you do not, well, things like this start showing up where you just have a little bit of gap that you just cannot get back. Once you lay down the cloth and then the resin, if it's not right, it will never be right. And of course there, I also did a little bit extra sanding with my Dremel, got a little too aggressive on the shape. It should be more of a bow tie like this versus an in and out. Looking at the second one, kind of the same mistakes. I show you down in there, definitely some bridging that I just didn't get it tucked down in there nicely. But otherwise, the finish is pretty darn good. If you look at it straight on, not too bad. But, the bridging's the killer. Just laying it down in there was not good enough. And it's another lesson to learn. So with that, we'll let you guys go. Thanks for stopping by, watching this. If you have any questions on any materials I used in the video itself, go ahead and check out the video description and leave me your comment. Good or bad, I'm still learning. And next, we're going to move on to another part. See you next time.